Hello, this is Mo, your amateur urban gardener from Houston, Texas, USA. I just realized on my last video that as far as for organization and kitchen prep, I'm not exactly an amateur. I've been doing those things for a long time. 16 years restaurant work and 7 years I ran my own house cleaning business. I was the main worker too, but at any rate, I've done a lot of organizational work, and 10 years as an elementary art teacher taught me a great deal about being organized. I think I have all my props set up. So this is about basil. I love basil. I love the smell of basil. It's a really easy herb to grow in Houston, Texas. If it has good soil, lots of sun, water, and of course a little love, leave eggs that then later on eat all your plants, you know, worms, right, caterpillars. So I try not to have too many things that will attract butterflies. I don't want butterflies in my yard. In my garden, I want bees. So that's why I grow lots of basil all over my yard. I read an article just recently in a magazine that said this, it talked about 10 different kinds of basil. There's all different kinds of basils. I wanted to show you to start my seed system. Each year I save flowers from the different plants, basil in my garden. Bees are really good house guests. They come, they eat, they leave, and you know, they do all their other business elsewhere in their hive. Butterflies come, eat, leave eggs that then later on eat all your plants, you know, worms, right, caterpillars. So I try not to have too many things that will attract butterflies. I don't want butterflies in my yard. In my garden, I want bees. So that's why I grow lots of basil all over my yard. I read an article just recently in a magazine that said this, it talked about 10 different kinds of basil. There's all different kinds of basils. I wanted to show you to start my seed system. Each year I save flowers from the different plants, basil, whatever I grow. If the flowers can be saved to use as seed the next year, I save a little bit of whatever it is, the seeds, dry them out thoroughly, and then put them in envelopes after they're dry, and label them. I usually put the date and then whatever they are. And I have Queen Siam, African Blue, although I've been told African Blue you can't grow from seeds, you have to grow from cuttings. Basil, Greek, Italian, Spicy Globe, Bush, and did I say Greek? Yes, Greek. So I have lots of different kinds of basil growing. Anyway, these are how I organize the seeds. These are the herb seeds, these are the vegetable seeds, they're all in alphabetical order. I have a little divider in here to keep the seeds separate from one another. And then I have a separate box for flower seeds. You know, I save flower seeds as well. And when I'm planting seeds and I want to label them, I use tongue depressor. You can buy them at craft stores. They're not too expensive. Anyway, and I also want to see, this is separate. This is not in it's in the flower box, but these are seeds from basil. I mean, this is the Queen Siam basil. There's thousands and thousands of seeds here. This was just from last year. So, I mean, I guess I could plant the whole neighborhood with basil. But anyway, I love basil. I love the seeds. And the other thing is, the first year I grew basil, I used to use the leaves for cooking. I used to chop them up, dry them, used to hang the plants upside down, chop up the leaves, dry the leaves. And then just by accident, I discovered that the flowers and the seeds is the best spice. It's more concentrated, really potent, lasts better, you know, through time. Like the next year, that spice will taste better. The flowers, crushing them up and crushing up the seeds. And anytime you're using a spice, if you saute it, like say you're sauteing onions or something like that in a little oil, if you put the spice in with whatever it is you're sauteing and a little olive oil, it brings out the flavor of the spice too. That's a tip I learned when I used to work in restaurants. So I don't save the leaves anymore. The leaves, the stems, all that stuff, I chop it up and I throw it in the compost. I save the flowers. The flowers are what I use for spice. The flowers are what I use for seed. And I will say, like, this bag is all dried flowers, and it's terrific spice. And just like I do the spearmint, I do this. I forgot to date this one, but usually I put the date on there too, what year, because it's usually at the end of the season that I do the basil. So, let's see, different types of basils. This year I have 7 different types of basils in my yard. In my garden. It's the first time I've had that many kinds. This is lemon basil, and what I did was I brought cuttings in of all the different kinds. This is lemon basil, and if you pinch it, it has a distinct lemony smell. I was thinking, I haven't used it yet, but it'd probably be very good on fish. Purple basil, which grows slower, and I haven't tasted it yet, so I really don't know what it tastes like. And it's just starting to flower, so I haven't really had a chance to smell it. Wait a minute here. It has kind of an earthy smell to it, the leaves. This is, wait a minute, I gotta check. I'm not sure if this is the spicy globe basil and the Italian basil. This is the spicy globe. The Italian and the spicy globe look a lot alike. Both Italian and spicy globe basil are bigger, more watery leaves. These are the ones, the basil that's better for like pesto and that sort of thing. And definitely I would use the leaves if I was going to make pesto. Thai basil, beautiful flowers. It has a real kind of spicy aroma. The flowers as well as the leaves. And you know, if I was cooking, I mean, I use the leaves, but I'm just saying if I was going to save the spices for the next year, that sort of thing, I just mainly save the flowers. I don't save the leaves anymore. This is bush basil. African blue basil. Supposedly, and the reason I still have it is somebody gave me a plant. I brought the plant in during the winter and took care of it, and then I put it back outside, so it's still growing. It never died. And I take cuttings from it and make new plants all the time. So I have African blue basil, quite a bit of in my yard as well, in my garden. It's a pretty basil, and the bees really like it. And then this is the Italian or Greek, I'm not quite sure which one this is, but it's very similar to the spicy globe, only not quite as spicy. Is that 7? I think that's 7. And see, here's a spicy globe in a pot, and you can see the leaves are quite big. And you know, they'll take up a huge amount of space as it gets bigger. This pot here has 2 basil in it. It has a Thai basil, and you can see how they all kind of grow a little differently. You know, they're very pretty. This is Thai basil, and this is the bush basil. It has a lot of white flowers. The bees really like this bush basil as well. And here I have a bush basil, just some cuttings, because I wanted to show you what I do. I mean, this is not the time of year where I really start drying the spice so much, but I wanted to show you how I do it. So see, I would take the flower part of the plant, and the rest of it, you know, basically I just cut it up, chop it up, put it in the compost bucket, and then put it out in the compost pile. My husband and I have what's called a lazy person's compost. We don't turn the compost over, it's just the big box, and we bury all of our vegetable trash. All the grass clippings and leaves and things like that from the yard go in there, and then we have a pitchfork out there, and we'll dig a hole, put the vegetables in, and then cover it up. That way you're not bothered by animals and things like that, flies. You don't have any of that problem, and the vegetables decompose very fast. So I take this, and I simply strip off the flowers, okay, the flowers, and the seeds are in there as well. This can also be during the year, you know, you just strip off those flowers like that and you throw it in salad, throw it in soup. A lot of people eat the raw basil in salads just like that, the flowers from the plant. So that's what I would do. I would take the flowers and the seeds, put it in a bowl, let it dry out, and all the rest of the greenery I just chop up and throw in the compost. So that's one way, you know, just letting that stuff dry out, and then I'll bag it up like this. Or sometimes I will pick off the flowers. So you can see how they grow, like in the center one will grow and then more will grow on the outside. This is the Thai basil. It's really interesting the way the basil grows. They all have a similar way of growing, but see, there's all different little stems of flowers. So I will pick off the middle one, and then that causes the plant to produce more flowers. And that's pretty much with all plants. If you pinch back what's in the center, then the plant will become stronger, more energy goes into the roots, and it becomes more prolific. That's most plants. Now, with this, I would take either wire or take some twist ties. I usually keep a little bottle of them, a couple of twist ties together, and tie this up. Or sometimes I'll use a rubber band. You know what? I think I will use a rubber band. Sometimes I use a rubber band. And just tie it up like that. And then either wire or paper clip or something like that, like this. So I'm going to use this little paper clip to attach on here, and then, you know, hang it up somewhere. Now you can see right here I have, these are chilies from last year that I poked a wire through, and they're drying. Once they're dry, I use a coffee grinder and pulverize them, make them into powder, and that becomes a very nice hot chili, hot pepper, like a cayenne pepper, you know, that I can use from a shaker. These are all different flowers that I'm drying for the seeds. This is lavender, but I mean, this can very easily be added to this up here and let it dry. And once it's dry, then I will, you know, take, if I don't have the time to do this first, take off the flowers and stuff. You know, sometimes at the end of the seasons I have tons of those things. So that's one solution. Hang it up, let it dry, and then if it's dry, it gets a little more tough. So I have my, I actually have a pair of work gloves that are just for herb only. So I use the work gloves when I'm stripping the seeds off of the stems, because the stems are a little more tough when they're dry. And sometimes at the end of the year, I have so much flower basils that I will fill up a bucket or two like this, just with the flower tops like this. You know, I don't tie them together. I just cut them and fill up buckets with the flower tops and just leave them to dry. And once they're dry, then I will strip the flowers off of them. Depends on, you know, if I can keep up with the work or not. So anyway, that's basically what I've come to understand about basil. And as I said, if you know, master gardeners and things like that tell you not to let the basil flower, but that doesn't seem, to me it seems like the flowers is the best part of the basil, so I grow them so they will flower. At any rate, that's it. Easy to grow, save the flowers, that's where the seed is for planting the next year. Easy to dry and use for cooking. And if you're using dried herbs, saute it with a little oil when you're cooking your onions or anything like that, and it will bring out the flavor and the spice. And that's about it. Oh, and also, I even like to just, this is Thai basil, and I have this out on a table in the other room. I mean, I think it's even pretty just as a flower arrangement. It's such a pretty flower, and it has such a nice smell. Brings a really beautiful smell into the house. Okay, that's all. So that's basil in a nutshell from your urban amateur gardener from Houston, Texas, USA. And if you want to know more about me, you can look on my website, expandingheart.com. You know, expandingheart.com. I have a lot of free stuff on my website that you can access and print off on your own if you care to. That's all. Take care. Happy gardening. Happy food prep. Till next time.